Hey Turners, how you doing today? Today I have this lovely little piece of apple. It's pretty green. It's been cut about 4 or 5 months ago. No cracks in it yet. I had it sealed up and we've been cutting off little pieces, making stuff out of it. So today I'm going to figure out which direction. I think we're going to go up and we're going to make a little enclosed form. Real thin wall and just let it warp and do what it wants. A lot of times this apple is going to crack up on me, but it's a good exercise in turning thin and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So let's get on it. So one of the first things we have to do is kind of look at our timber and see, what's going to look the best. Where do we want to risk having our cracks is another thing. This has got kind of an interesting shape going up this way. If we turn it sideways, we'd have an offset pith running through it. So we get, we're still going to have pith in this unless we could take it to the bandsaw, and then we're going to have a much smaller piece. So I think it's worth it just to have some fun with it. Little offset cut here on this side. But I think that we're going to want this to be our bottom here, and we'll leave that closer down. Enclosed form up here, kind of a teardrop shape. Little foot on the bottom. We'll try to throw a bead on that, but our goal is going to be to get nice, uniform, thin walls with a bit of an enclosed form. So our first step is kind of line it up straight here, and we know that we've got a 6-inch, roughly 6-inch diameter. It's 6.5 at the widest spot. So I'm just going to grab a ruler and my awl. And we'll come up here, kind of look at that. It's 6.5, so 3 1/4. Probably should go ahead and nip that off real quick here. Hold on. No point in having that swing around, and it's in my way. If it's in my way, I don't like it. Let's get that off real quick. Okay, back to what we were doing here. So we're at 6. Let's call it 6.5. 3 1/4 is going to give us a nice general center point. Just want to make sure we're up and down. Give it a little whack there so we got a good mark for where we're going to be. And I'm just going to use a 4-prong center to start out. There's really no reason to do anything different. So a 4-prong on this side. Kind of line her up. Turn our speed all the way off over here because I do have the lathe power on. Get that in the hole. And then we just kind of push our tailstock up until we get something that we're happy with. Lock her down a little bit so I can spin it. Just kind of looking for equidistance and some equidistance there. It's going to probably spin a little funky to start with, and of course I kind of like that. I don't mind the adventure of spinning a log. Just throw your face shield on, stay out of the line of fire, and you should be golden. And I'll probably start hitting this with a 5/8 inch bowl gouge. Let's make sure we've got a good line up here. Give her a spin. That looks pretty good. I'll be moving the camera around today. So far, I haven't really gotten the 2 camera down to a point where I'm comfortable, and I'm missing too many angles and shots. So I'm working on it. Bear with me, and I'd love any feedback or input you guys have there. But let's just start this out of the line of fire. Spin her up, see how she does. Not getting any vibration here. For roughing, I'm up right now at 750 RPM. Can't feel the lathe move at all. So I think we're going to be safe right here at 800. So though, but there is a ton of moisture flying off this. It should be a fun turn. One of the things I'm looking for is to make sure we establish a really good base and foot for this and a nice deep tenon, so that we know we'll hold on. This Greenwood's going to want to move and let stuff go on me. So we're going to frequently want to get in, make sure we've got no bark in our tenon down here. So we'll peel away a little bit more of this. But you can see how beautiful that wood just peels away. Nothing like turning good Greenwood, man. See, you get a nice flat spot with all wood and no bark. Still have some bark in there. We could bring this tenon down. We're not going to need to use the giant chucks for this one. But we still have quite a bit around here, so I want to get rid of that. We just don't want to take any risks. I'm close to around here. Got a tenon I can work with. That bark's a little flaky, but it goes right down into the hardwood here, so we might trim that back a teeny bit more. But now let's just get some rounds going here. Make sure that we're not going to hit our tool rest. Yeah, we still have quite a bit here on this side, so let's take care of that first. We come up a little more swooping. quick stop. Probably a lot of that got sped over, but yeah, we still have bark here. I don't want to leave any bark in this one. This is just going to, I'll go ahead. We must have been just a little off center. The log's obviously a little out of whack. So I'm going to have to come in quite a bit more to get the look I'm looking for, but you can see how beautiful this grain is. This apple's just some of the prettiest wood I've seen in a while. And I know it's not everyone's liking, but I really, it's one of my faves. You guys hear me say it all the time. This is my pointy gouge. This is my little Benjamin's Best. Been around forever. I've almost used it all the way up. Got a fresh one still in the plastic over here. I mean, when they're 29 bucks a piece, you can afford to keep a spare. But still probably one of the most trustworthy little gouges I've ever had for the money. So I can still feel where it got a little flat or some bark here still. Yeah, we're almost through that though. I think it's worth it to get rid of that bark. We might leave a natural edge on top. We'll take a look when we get there. But I don't want any of that in there. You go for all good clean wood. Feels better. Still have some up there. Nice and good there. All right, we're getting close. Getting close. We can start our rounding up towards that top here pretty soon. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and round off the rest of that so I don't have the corners swinging. My dog's happy to have me out in the shop in a t-shirt again. It's been a while. You really feel it bouncing around on those flats there. Just have that one flat though. I keep cranking the tailstock in, making sure we're good. It's going to be a little bit smaller than I was initially anticipating. Our edges here are pretty tight, but I must have been off. It looks like yeah, the pith was off center, so trying to center the pith is what I was working on there. I got what I did. All right. Just get the rest of these nicks off the top. Just taking those little light passes. I really don't want that. Although, if we go with a smaller hollow form, it'll be hollow here, round up here. Could end up with a cool opening that would show how thin it is inside. I don't know if that's what I was going for, so I don't think I'm going to do that. Just make it a little bit smaller. There's no point in an inch or so difference for what I'm going for here. I don't think will make a difference in the big picture in the end. So. Coming out an angle here. Okay, time to sharpen up. I can feel the gouge is getting beat up pretty good there. Okay, back at it with the sharp bowl gouge. See a little difference there, huh? Okay, we're almost past that there. And there, that takes a beautiful, beautiful pass. Let's go ahead and finish flattening that off on top up here. And then we can start pick where our round's going to be. Still going to go for much more of a teardrop. I just want to get rid of some of that material up on top, see where we're at. It's going to have to be quite a bit more teardroppy to get rid of all of this bark. To be honest, probably not the best use of this blank, but I know what I'm going for, so we'll take some passes, try to keep it wide. Our wide spot can be right here. I'll mark that even though it's wet wood. It's kind of hard to get a good mark on. I want to mark our widest spot here. So we know that's going to be our wide spot. We'll move up from there and try to come up with a pretty shot there. We'll also obviously going to round this down, and I'm going to have to probably turn part of this tenon into part of the base. Still really feel the movement there. Okay, look at our pot's taking shape here. A little bit of a bird's mouth with this low here. Going to pull up some more and see if we can get that a little more balanced. Does not have to be perfect, but I do want it more balanced. And then we'll work on a nice round swoop down into that. Do we want to go with this bird's mouth? What do you think? Kind of leave it a little bit open here. It's a tough call. I always like that look, but I don't want to overuse it, and it seems to be something I go to too easy. I'd kind of like a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way, like you get in a little bit of a rut with some of your designs. Whenever I feel like I'm getting in a rut, I watch Brad at Q Branch Woodworks do his thing. Then I'm like, yeah, I'm in a rut. That guy's out there 10,000 holes drilled in something. I mean, just does all sorts of crazy stuff. I don't even think about it until I see him working on it. See if we keep that bark on there, which it looks like it will stay on. If it stays on through the drying process is anyone's guess. I can come back at that, come the other direction, will clean that bark up real nice. Still a low spot there. What do we think? Do we like the low spot? Or do we take one more pass? The famous Vilgiati one more pass. That generally never ends well. See if that establishes a rim that we like. Still going to be a pretty low spot there. Still a significant low spot. So if I swoop up into that, I'm getting more of a genie in a bottle vibe now. Break out your old Christina Aguilera albums, I guess. Okay. Don't want to fight that too much. Right there's where the bark starts. Leaving a little bark up there to mess with later. So I can pull that back down into swoop. We're just about there. That's about as low as I'm going to allow it to go, because I think I can still get a nice uniform rim up here. And that should leave a little bit of interest if that stays on. Feels like it might. Ooh, I'm standing at a foot of shaving, so I'm going to have to move some of this around before we reset here. What I'm doing here is a shaping cut. Just want to kind of refine my shape a little bit. A little lump right there I can see in the horizon image that I want gone. Okay, let's see. What do we think of this shape here? We'll round that. Won't have a hard line there. Got a pretty tight lip. This punky-ish bark may not make it. Sometimes that, as it's drying, it just wants to peel right off. Almost kind of like this hard line here, if we could leave that and then just go for a nice round down here. What do you think about that? Leave a hard line, a nice round. We'll hollow down and then scoop the bottom there. Scoop the bottom. I don't know. I'm out here talking to myself like a crazy man. All right, let's give that a shot. I'm going downhill here. Really trying hard to keep our hard edge up here. A little bit more round in here. Really wants to catch that leftover foot. Okay. Let's go ahead and shrink up our tenon a bit. Nice and flat. Now our tenon's a little too beefy, so we want it to be able to sit flat up against that. So I'm going to take about half of that material off. So now, obviously, this is going to be drying super thin. So this is our straight off the tool. That's what we got here. Nothing major. Got a couple lines here. You're going to see those pop out as it dries, but we'll be able to sand those away after it warps. I'm not going to try to sand it wet unless it really dries out for me. But we'll, boy, that's further back than I expected. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and just tighten this down here, and then we'll pull it off and flip it around into a chuck. A little bit more here, and then we'll just knock this off with the chisel. A little flatter. All right, turners. That is now ready to turn around, and we'll start the hollowing process on it. We're going to lock this into a chuck, nice and tight. We'll start out with a Forstner bit. Clear out the material, set our base. We'll be about half an inch shallower than we plan on for the base on purpose. This should be an interesting wobble if we round the bottom off really nice, but I think we'll get a good flat base for it. And we'll leave enough material down here that we can sand it flat after it's done warping. My goal is to get this down to right around 1.5 mm to 2 millimeters. So, under 100,000ths of an inch would be my goal. And we'll get a light on here shining in it to make sure that we're hitting those as we get the visualizer out and everything. But for now, that's where I'm going to stop. I'll flip it around and get it in a chuck. So I'm sure you all have a method that you're happy with for pulling off those little nubs. But what I've kind of relied on is just an old Marples chisel. And I find where the direction of the grain. Line my chisel up flat with my tenon in the direction of the grain, and then I just give it a couple of whacks. And it pops right off, and I get a nice flat surface that we can start with from there. And if you haven't already made yourself a mallet, well, shame on you. You're a turner. Get out there and make a mallet. There's a lot of great videos out there on doing that. I was thinking of putting one together. I made a mallet for my buddy Fuller's Wood Shop. We did a little exchange. He sent me the coolest plaque. I'll have to show you guys. I think it's PG. I wouldn't say it's even PG-13, but I've had a couple of raised eyebrows. And I sent him a walnut and maple wood turning mallet that I made for him, or a little bench mallet. And it's always fun to do those exchanges. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. If you had an exchange out there with a great story, post it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you got. I was thinking of holding a Maker's Exchange this year come around Christmas time. Ooh, I might have made my tenon just a wee bit too, not right on the money. Oh man, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. All right, so I like to loosen it up a little here on the chuck side, put some pressure on it once it's seated on the base, and then really crank down on this Greenwood. Chances of us needing stabilizer are pretty low. This is not a big piece. I think right now we're probably, let's grab a ruler. You guys should still be able to see it in the picture here. We're from the base to the top is 5 inches. So we're not, this isn't a massive deep hollowing kind of project, but you do need to have the right tools to be safe. And your safety is your primary responsibility, not mine. So whatever you see me doing that seems ridiculous, again, feel free to comment. I'm always looking for input. But again, your safety is your responsibility. A lot of times we all find ways that we're comfortable doing things, and other people look at us like we're out of our blooming minds. Here, let's get out of the line of fire, start her up. Yeah, it's going to run nice and true for us to get a lot of that mass out. I'll start out the turning probably around 800, but first we're going to go ahead and drill that hole. So I'll reset up the camera, although you've seen a million holes drilled, especially if you watch me, because I have a tendency to like my holes. But I'm just going to start out there with a 35 millimeter drill bit, which pop right in there. Don't even think I need to clean that up, although that could be also another famous last words. I've seen most of the time this apple bark will cut pretty true for me. So let me go set this up and I'll be right back. Okay, the Cecil B. DeMille in me tells me that angle is an adequate angle to demonstrate the art of drilling a hole. So we'll leave it at that for now. My dog obviously doesn't agree. She thinks it should be a different hole. But this one, if I recall, will allow me, this drill bit here, will allow me to get in, I think, a full 4+ inches from the tip. Right now we're at 3 3/4, and this part will sink all the way in. So I might end up removing the drill bit or getting on an extension later. But we can also easily hollow that bottom. I just need a good starting hole. And we'll turn our speed down to about 250 to 300. There we go. We're at a solid 265. Get over here and we'll just slowly crank her in. Hand on the chuck. Real slow. A bit through the work. See that Greenwood coming out. And we're going to obviously make that opening a little bit bigger so we can get rid of all that. But this is going to want to clog a lot as we're drilling. So we'll be backing it in and out quite a bit. I'll just put this on what do you call it, ludicrous speed. So you guys aren't stuck having to watch all this. So there's our starting hole. We got just giant chunks of apple tree coming out of there. Chewed the wood up pretty good, but we don't care because we're going in with hollowing tools. Now there's a couple of ways that we could hollow this. You can, if you have a good back and you can get at the right angle, you can go in reverse and kind of go straight down the lines. If you can get on the other side of your lathe and you're comfortable turning there, it's the same as turning in reverse, to be honest. You can come in that way. What I'm going to do is set up a hollowing rig. We'll center it up. We're going to get out probably just regular steel, high-speed steel tips on this one. And we'll just start moving down the line. We're going to try to maintain a wall thickness of under 1/10 of an inch through the whole vessel so that when it warps and changes, it shouldn't crack. And if it does crack, it should be an interesting crack. So that's where we're going to go. All right. We have got the visualizer all set up. Got our air compressor, got to turn that on. And we're ready to start hollowing away. This should go pretty quickly with the apple. That's light. All right, well, here's where we're at. I know there wasn't a whole lot of exciting stuff watching it get hollowed, but we're nice and light. We're nice and thin. If you turn the lights out, you can, let's see if we can actually tell over here. Go to one of my studio lights here. See if you can see. See the light coming right through there? Kind of get on there. So we did an okay job getting it thin. We're not quite down to 1/10 of an inch. I'd say we're closer to an 1/8, maybe at the thickest part here. But it's still super wet, so I'm going to put it in a plastic bag and let it dry for a couple of days, and then we'll try to do some more sanding on it. I still have to flatten out the bottom. Oh, you can see the light right through it there. Look at that. Ooh, can see through it. That's kind of fun. So we'll let it dry up a teeny bit, and then we'll probably have to do some hand sanding. But the tool marks aren't too bad on the outside. Not quite as good on the inside. I think you guys saw I was using the shear scraper on the inside, and that is a rough go. So that takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. But once we get this tenon off, this thing should weigh next to nothing. So let's go see what kind of weird shape it melts into. Okay, well, it's been a while here since we turned our apple bowl. It's been a whole week here. Let's take a look and see if it cracked up, warped. It's going to be salvageable. Oh, all cracky. That nice and thin sucker held together. So, did get a little deformation there. You can tell just by how it wobbles when you from the tenon warping, but it looks like it survived. Bark stayed on, so it's time for us to remount that and see if we can sand it. Although I think it's probably too oval to mount on the lathe now. We might end up, yeah, it's definitely too oval. We're gonna have to hand sand that one. But anyway, that is how you turn those thin things out of fruit wood and not have them crack on you later. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and a like, comment, all that kind of good stuff really helps my channel grow and lets me know that, hey, I'm offering stuff that you guys want to see. If not, hey, put a comment down and let me know what I need to do to change, to improve, to get better. I appreciate that. Now get out there and turn something.